What we see in this image is not a simple bullet. Rather, it is the anti-satellite missile of India. This missile was used in 2019 to shoot down a satellite as part of Mission Sakti program conducted by India. With that test, India became the fourth country in the world that possesses this technology. What is the strategic importance of this weapon? How can an AS-80 missile shoot down a satellite that is revolving at an orbit that is hundreds of kilometers away from the surface of the Earth at very high velocity? These are the questions that are being answered in this video. Man has used aerial vehicles for spying on enemies as soon as he could get to air. During World War I, large balloons and early generation aeroplanes were being used for spy work by many countries. But by World War II period, the aeroplane technology had advanced very much, and hence they were widely used for surveillance. These aircraft were extensively used to take images of the enemy lines. After the war, the world had split into two major factions. During this period, each group developed multiple cutting-edge planes to spy on each other. However, back then, even the most advanced aircraft needed a pilot to fly them. This was a major shortcoming, particularly because these planes were primarily intended to be used over the enemy airspace. With the advent of advanced surface-to-air missiles, aeroplanes were not safe, no matter how high they fly. For instance, Soviet Union has shot down an American U-2 plane that was flying at an altitude of 70,000 feet above sea level. Besides, these planes simply were not capable of taking pictures of vast areas. It was at that time that mankind had breached the frontier of space. It suddenly became possible to use satellites to take pictures of Earth. These satellites revolve around the Earth at higher altitudes than any aeroplane could and could take photos of any location around the globe. However, the images from the analog camera back then lacked clarity. Moreover, it was not easy to send these pictures back to Earth. Before the lifespan of the satellite was over, a capsule with the exposed film was sent back to Earth's surface. Several such spy satellites were launched by America, followed by Soviet Union to spy on each other. Most of these reconnaissance satellites were launched into the low Earth orbit closer to the Earth. But there was an underlying fear that apart from reconnaissance, these satellites could also be used to deploy very powerful weapons in space. As a result, America and Soviet Union had developed anti-satellite missiles during this era itself. America's plan to launch their Bold Orion missile so that they could reach within 5 to 6 meters of the enemy satellite, trigger a small atomic explosion, thereby destroying all nearby satellites. Meanwhile, the strategy of Soviet Union was to launch an explosive-laden satellite into an orbit parallel to the enemy satellite, thus destroying it. Soviet Union also possessed laser weapons which could temporarily blind the spy cameras of spy satellites of the enemy satellites in their arsenal. Furthermore, in 1985, America proved that they could destroy a satellite by firing a missile from their F-15 fighter jets. Soviet Union retaliated by building anti-satellite missiles that could be attached to their MiG-31 jets. With the dissolution of Soviet Union, the AS-80 tests came to a standstill, though momentarily. These tests gained momentum again when China tested its ASM in 2007. Their intention was to announce to the whole world that they had become a superpower. America retaliated in 2008 by testing their new and advanced missile system. Today, China has the second highest number of spy satellites in the world. This poses enormous threat to India. Not only can these satellites spy on the vast land areas, but also capture the mobile signals and radar signatures. Modern satellites can detect small objects that measure a mere few centimeters. In addition to China's 30+ spy satellites of Yogan series, it is believed that numerous civilian satellites are also used for reconnaissance. During the Galwan Valley clashes in 2020, China had provoked India by flying a Yogan spy satellite over the Ladakh region. In retaliation, India flew an EMI-SAT satellite over Tibet within a few days and captured Chinese military development. At present, India has over 15 reconnaissance satellites for both military and civilian purposes. However, in order to defend from the Chinese threat and to send a warning, it is essential for India to develop its own ASAT systems. Following the Chinese test in 2007, India began developing anti-satellite missiles. As a result, India had already acquired the capacity to shoot down hostile satellites by the beginning of the last decade. This is an adaptation of the indigenously developed missile defense system designed to stop any incoming ballistic missiles. The mission Sakti test of 2010 was in fact a warning against China's never-relenting aggression. The specially developed Prithvi missile was launched from the research center in Abdul Kalam Island. It traveled a distance of 300 kilometers into space and successfully destroyed a satellite. Today, all our spy satellites and anti-satellite missiles are managed by India's Defence Space Agency. In future, this agency will be associated with the three armed forces to form a Tri-Service Command. The goal of this agency is certainly not to trigger a war in space. Rather, its objective is to protect our country's interests. Not only is our nation capable of defending us from attacks from sea, land, and air, it is also capable of protecting us from attacks from space. In effect, this will be our space force in the future.